Brenner Hernandez, and this is a rhetorical analysis of Frank Waln's chapter in American Like Me. A little bit about the author is that Frank Waln is a Sikangu Lakota rapper from the Rosebud Indian Reservation in South Dakota. As a teenager, he was first exposed to hip hop after finding an Eminem CD on the side of the road. He began to listen to the genre extensively and began recording songs in his family's basement. In his music, he often connects his experiences as a Native American dealing with the consequences of colonialism and the oppression faced by the majority of minorities in United States history. The past, where the purpose, audience, speaker, and situation are as follow. The purpose is to point out the struggles and injustices that Native Americans have faced in the United States and how the author and his people cope with such oppression. The audience is mainly composed of non-natives and other minorities who may have faced discrimination as well. The speaker is Frank Waln, and the situation is Waln basically explains the struggle he, his family, and his people, in sense, have endured on the reservation and how they strive to improve their lives despite all this suffering and discrimination. The first paragraph is the strategy used is that Waln begins his chapter with references to his grandmother and her ability to forge goodness out of misery. The effect is that it captures and reels in the reader's attention, especially the first sentence in which Waln wrote, "My grandmother's an alchemist trapped in a death camp," which really reels in the reader's attention because it's just it's it's such a statement to start with. The appeals and devices used are parallelism to show the importance and responsibility his grandmother had in his community. This can be seen when he wrote, "Mother of 11, grandmother of too many to count, and relative to many." Second paragraph, the strategy used is that Waln uses the exploitation of Native Americans throughout United States history to validate their struggle. He accentuates mistreatment of Native Americans through through an elaboration of how they've been mistreated, through broken treaties and near elimination. The appeals and devices used are a brief usage of anaphras to strengthen his argument that the U.S. government abused and desired to eliminate Native Americans. The anaphras can be spotted when he states, "Why would the government want to do this? Why would they want to destroy the people with whom they've signed hundreds of treaties with?" The third paragraph, the strategy used, is that Waln continues to elaborate on the injustices natives face by citing specific laws and regulations that barred them from leading normal lives like many other people in the United States. The effect is that it continues the recurring theme of bringing attention to the persecution of natives. And the appeals and devices are a usage of metaphorical language. For example, alchemists, who historically were people who used to um, mix a variety of metals and gold in order to make something new, to create a new metal or a gold. And Waln uses this metaphor, sort of how, in a sense, that Native Americans have had so much trouble throughout United States history. They've been mistreated, yet they still strive to make gold. They still strive to lead a better life. The fourth and fifth paragraphs is the strategy used is that Waln uses a personal anecdote about his grandmother. The effect is that he alludes to stories that he was told from childhood about his grandmother to prove her perseverance through difficult situations. And the appeals and devices are that by talking about his grandmother's kindness and empathy on her community, Waln proves that humanity is still present in the darkest times. The sixth paragraph is the strategy used as a continuation of usage of personal anecdotes. This one is different, yet has pretty much the same meaning as the last one, in which Wallen's grandmother makes bread for the children on the reservation, and over time it becomes a regulation that all schools need to make bread in the morning for their students. The effect is that it continues to allude to Wallen's grandmother's perseverance in wanting to transform their bleak life into something more. And the appeals and devices are a usage of story of author's grandmother in order to prove her perseverance. The seventh paragraph, the strategy is a usage of historical examples of abuse of natives. For example, how the colonizers, as Waln says, decimated buffalo populations in a coordinated systemic effort to annihilate their main source of food, tools, and clothing in order to destroy them. The effect is that it continues to prove the suffering endured by natives, and the appeals and devices ethos is used in order to prove his native heritage. The eighth paragraph, the strategy used is a usage of personal anecdote regarding a death in the family. This is basically when Waln's uncle died in a ranching accident, and pretty much it creates a melancholy yet hopeful tone. And the appeals and devices that pathos is used. He's trying to emotionally connect with the reader. So he tries to draw out this sympathy from the reader. The ninth and 10th paragraph, the strategy is Waln calls upon his native ancestry and his beliefs. He brings his beliefs to light, and he uses a firm tone to make clear that his beliefs aren't what his beliefs are in order to vouch on behalf of Native Americans. The 11th and final paragraph is the strategy is that Waln ends the essay like he began it. He ends it with "My grandmother's an alchemist trapped in death camp," or you could just say "My grandmother's Lakota." It creates a sense of closure, in essence, from beginning to end. And the appeals and devices used are by comparing his grandmother to an alchemist. Waln depicts his people as being filled with magic despite their struggles. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.